Hi everyone, and welcome to Raising Vibrations. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some insights and understandings and some perspectives that I have personally from myself about something that I think is kind of critical at this point in time for all of us that are moving through this ascension period. And basically it's relating to what in astrology we would consider to be a crisis in action. Okay. And the relationship between Pluto and Uranus has been the one that's basically been raising our frequencies and bringing up all the truths that we are actually experiencing as it stands at this point in time. So what's basically happening is that everyone's kind of like reconnecting to this fiery element that is themselves, the spirit. And we're raising our frequencies. We're becoming more aware of the sort of like dirt that's existing out, underneath all of the old structures and all of the old ways of being, etc., etc. And so, yeah, we're basically experiencing this for that period of time, at least from 2012 onwards. And this acceleration process has got us to a point now where we've just passed what is, a really, really big landmark, or a really big part, or a really big piece in this journey. Okay, and it's this cardinal sort of cross, this grand cross that has been taking place for the last 2 days, from 23rd or the 22nd of April up until today, basically. And that's when it's been at its peak. And I'm sure everybody must have at some point in time felt, intensity in their bodies and such, and massive sort of like awakenings or earthquakes that were sort of changing their perspectives. So this is the whole process, right? This is the thing. This is what we've been experiencing. But as I said before, we're at a point now where the kind of like square, the frequency, the range in which we're understanding is in this crisis in action. We've gathered all this information. We've got it all over here. Now we're going, okay, how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we fix it? And so many of you will probably see on Facebook or any other sites, etc., we'll try to put out some invitations to do something, and some of us will still feel sort of a bit hesitant about how it works. And I've been reading a lot of comments to try and get me a sort of better perspective of where everybody is within, or where consciousness is globally at this point in time. And there is still a lot of people that are very hesitant, very, still trying to find out exactly how we go forward from this process. Okay, we've kind of like, realized what's happening, but now we got to put it into practice. So this video that I'm creating right now is going to sort of kind of touch on some of the ideas and perspectives that I have within my own self, and what things I'm doing with my own life that will kind of like give maybe you guys some inspiration or some awareness on how to go about this. Okay, so if that's the case and that's interesting, then fantastic, because then obviously this is going to be beneficial to yourself. And that's my main purpose. That is my main purpose with all my YouTube videos, everything of the sort. It's like looking ahead using astrology from the perspective of evolutionary astrology, and then like bringing it out to everybody over here. So that's the plan. Okay. So what it is that we're going to be talking about now. The first thing to identify over here, and what we're going to be struggling with on the most in terms of the biggest shift, is the new reality in which we are essentially going to be moving towards. Now, there are many sort of ways in which every single person is going to be experiencing this shift in their awareness, their shift in reality, okay, from one reality to another. Now, a very good, or a very sort of grounded way of sharing with you how this process works in terms of shifting is basically finding yourself in a situation where you have some attachments to a sort of lifestyle. And now all of a sudden your life is asking you to, under no circumstances, change the way that you are. And that means letting go of all the attachments. Okay. Now, can you just imagine the type of feelings that you could sort of associate with those type of attachments? Because they are integrated into your life. Okay. They are a part of you. They are part of the way that you operate and work. So the first process at this point in time, okay, that I encourage and invite everybody to try to do is to start reassessing the way that your lifestyle is working. Reassess everything that is around you, okay? So take a look at everything, analyze it, okay? And go at your own pace. This is not a race. This is not about like who can get to the finish first, or who's going to ascend better, etc., etc. None of that. This is about slowly but surely sitting down and becoming aware of everything that is around you that you do not feel comfortable with, okay? And then starting to see how you can start to slowly let go of those attachments that are associated with what it is that you don't like, and just get rid of them. Just basically cleanse it out. Just slowly but surely get rid of them, okay? And this will like speed up the process the faster, or not the faster, but the more you start to let go, because then you'll start to realize that some of the stuff that you actually were holding on to or were integrated into your life that you weren't awakened to yet, as we all are just becoming awakened in that space. When you become awakened to it, you'll start to analyze and see like everything that you've had around yourself is working against you and not for you. Okay, so the first thing is to just sit down and start assessing the things around you. Is this necessary? Do I need this? Is this what I want? Okay, and then slowly but surely at your own pace, like acknowledge how, or find a way to let it go, find a way to disintegrate it from your life and decondition that process, okay? And these attachments can vary from anything. For instance, in my own life, I have let go of any food that is non-organic, like anything that is ecological or that has not got a green label on it or has got that origin, then it's gone completely. And just letting it out completely, and letting go of other ideas of types of foods, for instance, sugars, etc., etc., just flushing it out completely, because I don't want it in my life. It doesn't work. So this is the first process, reassessment, readjustment, because you are in a space in which your consciousness and your awareness has shifted to a new reality that you're wanting, but there are sort of processes that you need to go through, like step-by-step processes that you need to go through in order for this to kind of like completely and utterly shift from one reality to another. That includes the 4 dimensions, that includes the higher perspectives, that includes the higher frequency, the cleaner frequency that is so associated with this new way of living on Earth, for instance, okay? So that's the first thing. Okay, why am I talking about that? The reason why I'm speaking about it is because if we had to completely understand from the point of view of what's happening globally, astrologically as well, we're having the old outdated paradigms of existence and old ways of being. Everything that was in the past no longer serves us anymore, because the very thing that is creating the problems in our lives are the very things that are being created, that are coming from the source. So if the source is outdated, then so are going to be our problems, okay? So we need to kind of like change our perspective, realign ourselves with a different way of looking at things, and then start to analyze where the very things that are causing us the problems are originally at the source, okay? So as an example of what I mean by this, let's look at, say for instance, textbooks, maths textbooks and such, right? And the limitation that we have currently with mathematics can be that the very knowledge that we are using to understand these things are the very limitation. And anything that expands outside that realm of what we are using as our tools, okay, it's not going to be function. We just won't be able to attach to that frequency. We will not be able to think outside the box, as it were. So the process over here, from humanity's perspective, is letting go of the outdated, old modes, outmoded things that are in our lives, okay? Okay. And once we start to let go of this, again, we will then match the frequency that is more of who we are relative to our spirit. So this is again the reason as to why I'm saying letting go. This is also the reason why I'm saying assess, because your consciousness is now on a different frequency to that, and now obviously the process is to realign yourself. So there's a realignment process, okay? And one of the most popular things that I could honestly speak about in terms of this shift is that we, as everybody has probably become aware of, especially if you're watching this video and you know what it's about, is about moving away from that on the left-hand side over there, okay? Firstly, the shape of the pyramid leading to some almighty person at the top of it reaping the rewards of the sort of hierarchy status, okay? And if I just sort of invite you guys to have a look at the nature of how that's constructed, look what's at the bottom over there. Can you imagine the type of lifestyle that that person's living, or any of that? Yeah, that's us, okay? Like that's exactly where we are. So at that space over there, what we're looking at is us, and we're supporting this hierarchy. Now, again, the only person's interest at heart really is the person right at the top, and us at the bottom will just like, make sure that you drink your coffee in the morning so that you get stimulated, go to work, spend all of your time over doing something that's for somebody else, not even your own creative pursuits or anything a part of you. Come home, stress about everything that's necessary to do, etc., etc., versus really connecting to your heart and finding your own creativity and so on and so forth and living in that space. So it's about shifting away from that. So we're breaking free from that. And how to get rid of that is exactly this video again. Okay, so we're shifting from that completely. Let's get rid of it. Let's stop feeding the system. Okay, let's stop feeding the system. That's basically what I'm trying to share with you guys over here in terms of that. Now, obviously, everybody's aware of this in that way, but this is the next step. This is the step. We're now needing to take away from what it is that we are feeding. Okay, we are feeding the system through us being attached and a part of it. So again, I come and invite you guys back to the reassessment. Reassess your life. Look at what it is that is around you that you are using to feed the system, the ego. Okay, and how is this benefiting? How is this benefiting humanity? How is this benefiting the global community? How is this benefiting anybody? How much of your own unique identity and spirit and essence is being denied because of feeding the system? So some of the kind of like things that I could share with you in terms of a system, okay, would be big corporations, okay, massive corporations that have absolutely no intent of caring about who you are or what it is, as long as you purchase their product, okay, purchase their product. And then by purchasing their product, that's great, that's fantastic. They make money. The people that own the company make the money. They live in the fantastic houses, etc., earning extortion amounts of money and living fantastic lives while you are sort of scrounging around trying to pay your bills at the end of the month. You understand what I'm trying to say? So don't feed the system, okay? The system is designed to take the energy from you. So this is a really important thing to acknowledge, okay? Uranus square Pluto, okay, in this chart at this point in time, in the sky at this point in time, is bringing this inconvenient truth to us, okay? So we have to acknowledge it. We have to empower ourselves by using this truth, okay? And the first thing that you do is you start taking the power away from the system that is creating the issue to begin with. You understand? Okay. So I hope that's clear in that sense. And it's obviously clear to me in a way in which it's allowed me to understand and reshape my own life. And this is the only thing I want to do. I just want to share it out with everybody over there to really ground themselves in this idea, this understanding. Look where you are feeding the system and then stop it completely. Okay. Or at least pull it out slowly by surely. Okay. Now, this is a very difficult thing to do. I'm not saying that this is an overnight project. If you can do that, then that's fantastic. But what I'm saying is let's integrate this into our consciousness. Okay, let's start to integrate it. So as an example, right, we're looking at the foods. Let's just look at foods, for instance, okay? Let's stop supporting any corporation that supplies foods to you that have got absolute junk in them. Like none of the food is organic. I did a video just recently saying be organic. Okay, look at the organic ascension line and understand what it is that we as human beings need to recapture, okay, as part of ourselves. Okay, we're a biological essence, part of Earth, and yet most of our foods that we're eating due to mass consumption is nothing of that sort. Okay, and so the point here is to realign yourself with new ways in which you can feed yourself that is of cleaner food. For instance, eat organic. Try to support companies and places that are inherently at the source, helping the community, helping the people. Okay, so stop feeding the system in that way. Any way that you can stop feeding the system. If it's a corporation and the coin goes to somebody else, the money goes to somebody else, it's not to how it can aid humanity. Then this is again the system. Okay. And stepping into that space. Now, I will be making a video just afterwards explaining some sort of like techniques and tools associated with this process, okay? And on my site, simonvorster.com, I will be creating a page, or I'm going to create a page where I can list loads and loads of information and texts that you can read through that will kind of like give you understandings and insights that are helpful in this process. And so how can we help our people go back? So this is the point. This is what I mean when I say we're shifting from the pyramid scheme to, for instance, non-supporting of the system, which is, as you can see over there, and we're putting it into the eco. So from the ego to the eco, from this pyramid to the circle. because everything in over there is equilibrium. Everything is balanced. The universe, consciousness, spirituality, everything works in these dimensions, in this understanding. And everything is feeding everything, which means what? It means that we have an unlimited amount of energy. We are using energy in these ways in which we are literally just using the cycles of how nature creates energy, right? And how it uses it. Just a simple cycle in that process. Now, if we start to integrate this into our consciousness, if we start to integrate this into our lives, and every single moment that we get the opportunity to be reminded of this, because this is going to be a process, this is going to take a little bit of time, obviously. But the most important thing, if you can take away from this whole video, is to start thinking eco and not ego, and stop feeding the system in that way, right? And start to regenerate Earth and regenerate yourself through giving back to the community, and then the community giving back to you in that way, right? Free energy, renewable energy in that sense. So we're shifting from that ego to that eco, and being in that space and living that space and implementing. This is the crisis in action. This is the next step. This is the things that we need to start doing, moving forward in this direction, okay? And allowing us to integrate this more into our hearts, more into our daily lives, more into things, okay? So let's have a look over here. The recycle button is basically what I'm saying. So where does this all begin? Like, how does this actually affect us? And what can we do to take the power away from the people that have it, as it were, and replenish ourselves? Like, let's rebalance this. Let's find an equilibrium where we are able to actually have a construction within our reality, within our world, that is allowing us to harvest, okay, the best stuff that we can create, the best food that we can create, the best companies and the best entrepreneurs and all of these type of people that we can create. We need to harvest this type of stuff. So it begins at the grassroots, okay? Now I'd like to tell a little bit of a story about how this cycle actually in nature works, and how it works in sort of our everyday lives, but sometimes we might not be paying attention to it. And that is of a sports team, okay? So a sports team comes along, and let's say, for instance, it has its eyes on winning a tournament, okay? But this tournament exists every 4 years. So let's just take the Olympic Games, for instance, because everybody's sort of aware of that. And we take a country, and let's say the country is Jamaica, and they decide to have a specific team, like, want to go for gold medal, okay? But they start right at the beginning, okay? And they have a team that works together for 4 years to get to know each other, to build rapport with each other, to completely and utterly learn the strategies off by heart until they intuitively understand and know who they are and what they are doing in their sort of activity. And they go to the Olympic Games, and they actually win it, because this process was about starting right at the bottom and working as a team, working as a group, working collectively over here, and having a goal in mind, and then going through with that goal. Now, what happens is that as these people have won this tournament, for instance, or this gold medal, for instance, the energy does start to peter out. And of course, everybody gets a little bit older, and we start to sort of shift into new states of being, which means that, like, that team in itself will become older. And so therefore we need to recultivate that team so that they can win the tournament in the next following years, right? So the next time it comes around, the cycle will be able to then be won by the team again, because what they've done is they've cultivated a new group of people from the bottom up again. It's renewed it, it's refreshed it. And this cycle would continue, right? So what's happening over here is that us as humanity, we are shifted and have shifted, we have shifted away from acknowledging the fact that we're asleep, and we're now becoming awake, and we're acknowledging the things that we don't want in our lives, in the sense of, like, feeling completely and utterly like panicky or anxious or depressed because we're not doing what it is that is our highest consciousness, our highest will, our highest frequency, etc., etc. We're now at that space where we can acknowledge it, and we want to put it into place. But our role in this place is to take the power away from the system where it's operating, and from the grassroots up, renew us by doing things that are what is closest to your own personal vibration, to your happiness, your highest excitement. So some of the things that you can do, like I've mentioned before already, is if you just look at your foods, for instance, stop supporting any corporations, like big corporations. Just take the power away from them, because it's them that need, you basically need to buy their product in order for them to exist. So if you just stop doing that simply, if you just at this point in time say, that's it, I refuse to support any of these companies anymore in that way, and you start to support companies that are in existence, that have got an organic line to them, an organic thinking, that is about feminine consciousness, that is about looking at natural ways to be, instead of supporting other companies that are just sort of exploiting people in other countries, for instance, okay, and just for our own convenience. Do you understand what I'm trying to say with that? So it's about looking at the organic ascension, looking at its origins, and seeing if it's from the grassroots up, seeing if it's from us, seeing if it's helping humanity, and so on and so forth, and not damaging the earth in that way. And this is a great thing to sort of implement within this consciousness, and how we're going to move forward from this place. Because I think that there's a really critical point at this point in time. I really do think that this is a critical point in our evolution, from the perspective of shifting away from the old ways of being. And the reason why I say that is because, to be honest, from 2012 up until now, we've had these kind of like Uranus square Pluto transits where, we've been given the opportunity to break free and liberate and such, but we've been gathering lots of information and we've become exposed to information, etc. But now the hard work begins. And it's the acknowledgement of taking the power away from the people that have it, as it were, by just simply not supporting it at all. And the reason why I say it's hard or difficult is because we now have to start working. Okay, we have to start working at taking away that, starting to live off the grid, as it were, in that sense. Starting to remove the things that are no longer necessary and a part of your existence. And then allowing that to be your life, but integrating it in. And that's what I mean when I say it's really difficult, because the process of integration in that experience is in itself not just like accepting some information and learning about it. It's actually doing the spiritual work. It's about realigning yourself and reconnecting with yourself in that way, and really honoring that space and honoring it completely. When I say honoring it, I mean it, like in the sense of saying to yourself, no longer is this going to be a part of my reality. I'm going to implement these new ways of being. I am wanting to be cleaner in my body and my biology. I'm wanting to take out all the other stuff that is not good for us, and so on and so forth. Okay? And that's a really important thing to acknowledge over there. It takes time to adjust to a new reality. A period of mental distress may be a result of the surge of new understanding. And that's just simply that. Like after this video, you're going to sort of put all together the stuff that you have been doing in your life, and you're acknowledging the truths and you're understanding the stuff. And now it means doing the work. And so part of that experience might having to be experiencing some fear-based consciousness that is still attached, our belief systems that are still attached, denying us the option and ability to actually move forward in our lives. Okay, we have to have this very brave, courageous, fiery type of way of being in order for us to break free from these fear conditioning patterns that stop us from actually acknowledging our higher selves. So there is going to be a period of time where you're going to feel that way. You're going to feel like, oh my gosh, what's happening, etc., etc., and a little bit of confusion and such, and that's natural. And acknowledge it and allow it to be, because it's the very thing that's showing you that you're ascending. Okay? And this is another really important thing that I'd like to add to this video over here relative to ascending. The purpose of this video is to create information that you guys can take and use when you need to, and don't use what you don't need to, etc., etc. Okay? But at the same time, acknowledge the fact that in this process, it's about looking inside of yourself to find the answers that are what you are seeking. They do not exist outside of yourself. There is no such thing as at a point where ascension is going to take place, or that the answers exist outside of yourself. It is about looking inside of yourself and acknowledging the change that is existing in you, and then implementing that, bringing that into the world. Okay? And one of those things, one of the secrets to this thinking process, is just acknowledging the fact that everything is connected. We are all one. So what can I do for humanity? And how can I help humanity so that it can have something that is purely organic, purely clean, purely focused on the heart chakra and the heart-centered space, and bringing that into the world. But you need to connect to yourself first and there, and allow that self-awareness to take place. Okay, so shift your consciousness, shift your awareness from the outside, and looking outside of yourself for all the answers. It all lies within. It is one of the most powerful things that you can actually acknowledge. In fact, most of this the stuff that has been existing in the skies at this point in time has been that internal shift. Because really it's about Earth shifting herself. And we're just obviously organic beings existing on Earth, and as our biological bodies, and we're experiencing that energetically. Okay, so again, the relationship to Earth is such an important thing. And when you look at the relationship to Earth, you go, why are we polluting it? Why are we creating all these metals? Why are we creating everything that is just non-organic? Think about the things that will happen to somebody when we're talking about organic stuff, non-organic stuff. Okay, think about the stuff that Coca-Cola, for instance, that when you drink it, what is happening to you, the amount of sugar in there, etc., etc., and so on and so forth. So just as an example, I'm trying to put us into this space, but there is no fear. This is the big thing over here. We got to move away from everything that is fear-based consciousness, okay, and moving towards this organic space. Okay, so this adjustment period in terms of reality and such is completely normal, and take advantage of it by acknowledging the fact that you're shifting in that way. But ground yourself in some in sustainable earth type of consciousness, right? Or acknowledging what is organic and so on and so forth again. So that's what the future has. This is the purpose. This is the reason as to why we would be wanting to move into the space and be able to create the type of consciousness that we can move towards, because the future will look like that. Okay, and look at how that architecture is designed in relation to what we have today. Okay, it's a little bit different, isn't it? In fact, it's a lot different. And in fact, look how what does it make you feel like when you see it? There's the elements of purity, whiteness, and greenness, and the ocean, and everything of the sort. I mean, just sort of feel what that picture makes you feel like, and you can see the point I'm trying to make over here. Okay, it's organic. It's even got the sort of like the structure of what the body might look like with inside, with all the nerves and the veins and so on and so forth. It's organic. And so this is another thing. Bring this into your consciousness. Bring this into our consciousness. And then show the world by being the change you want to see in the world and doing that type of stuff. Okay. So again, I'm going to sort of like ground the conversation again in some information about why you would want to be moving away from the system, why you would be wanting to let the system's hooks that are attached to you out of you. The first matrix, the matrix number 1, illustrates this so perfectly. Number 1, the matrix is there to basically create the illusion that life is the way that it is. The worst part about it is that it isn't. The second part is that when you look at the nature of how Neo wakes up, okay, he's waking up to being just a person that his energy is being sucked out of. So you're giving away your energy to the work environments and so on and so forth, with these ideas that have been associated with our lives. Okay, some of the ideas I'm talking about is like, who just woke up one day and decided to sort of create authority? Oh, right now, from now onwards, I will be the king and I'll like rule the land. Right? Where does this authority come from? And who put this person in place? And what makes him so special? And where do these bloodlines and royalties? And I mean, these people are normal people. So why? Just that type of thinking again. Okay, take back your power. Re-instruct that power within yourself by acknowledging your own true self and then just projecting it out into the world, your highest vibration, okay? And letting go of the system and its hooks in you. Secondly, just stop feeding the system again by acknowledging things like this, okay? Salt. Now, within salt, there are a couple of sort of ingredients that I'll link in the description below, right? That are not friendly to the body at all. In fact, like, if you had to isolate that thing from salt, okay, and just see it on its own, you wouldn't eat it, okay? It's poison. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is that if it's in something, you wouldn't eat any form of poison at all, would you? Right? Just on its own. You wouldn't pick it up and be like, yep, this is going to be fun. I'm just going to eat this and nothing's going to happen. Right? No, that's not the case. But when it's in food and it's disguised, okay, it takes on a different effect, because firstly, we're not acknowledging that that's the case, and secondly, we're consuming it still. Okay, so salt is something that I would highly urge you guys to acknowledge as being something that needs to be organic. Again, organic food, because poison exists within salt in that sense, right? With all the E numbers, and with anything that's got E numbers in it, for instance, you wouldn't eat it alone. So why would you eat it when it's with food? The only thing that you need to shift away from is acknowledging the fact that the food is acting as an illusion or as a mask behind the poisons. Okay, you wouldn't be poisoning your body at all. You wouldn't want your organs and so on and so forth to function, to not function. You can see why there's a reason as to why people need to be sick. Okay, because obviously there are incentives. Just think about that for a second as to why that would be the case. Lots of money involved. Money is the root of all evil in this particular instance. So again, money rules the system. And the more you can pay into the system, the more it is that you're feeding it, and your energy, your money is energy in that sense. And so therefore, you slave, exactly that, you slave your whole entire day. You come home for 15 to 20 or a half an hour's worth of sort of family time, which is the truth of reality in a sense, and connecting emotionally and feeling that, and then needing to escape reality by using the TV, for instance. And then once you've escaped reality, go to bed to get some rest, which, by the way, is another illusion, because again, the whole purpose of going to bed for a certain period of time is so that you can be ready for the next day's workforce experience, which is from the industrial age thinking. So this is changing. So wake up to these things, which we all are. And this is awesome because we're able to acknowledge this stuff. But how do we implement it into our lives? We start to take the power back. We regrow everything from the bottom up. And the thinking that it is firstly assessing what is around yourself, taking out the things that you don't need and replacing it with things that you do. Become self-sustainable, think outside the box. Okay, start growing your own food, for instance. Okay, or if you're not really good at planting your own sort of like food products, for instance, like your vegetables and such, you don't really have the green fingers, then support your local farmer, support your local grocer, support the local things. That's what I mean about grassroots again. Support the people that are around you that are in the same space as you are. Why? Because everything is connected. We are connected to everybody else. And when somebody else helps another person, that makes them feel good and they can return the offer. And eventually, if we collectively do this over here, we can shift from this frequency of how do we put this in the world to, oh my gosh, it's actually happening. And we're starting to take and see the effects of the corporations losing their attachment to everything that they have their fingers in. So that's what we need to do. We need to stop pumping the system full of our energy and pump it into ourselves and into our community. And one of the most beautiful ways that I can express this is let's resuscitate. Let's get the heart of who we are back online by giving the power back to us with this type of thinking. Okay? Thanks very much, guys. I hope that this was an inspiring video. If you want to contact me with any information or if you want to chat to me about stuff, please come over to my website, simonvorster.com. I have a tab over there that says write to me. You can also write in the comments below and share the stuff as much as you can. Obviously, the more we can become enlightened in some way, then that's better for us. And just spread the awareness and let's get this going. Let's move into the space that we have been wanting. We've got all the information. We know what we're dealing with over here, but now let's take the next step, which is the hardest one in my opinion. It's to be the change that you want to see in the world. I'm going to put some links onto some other videos that I've got over here. If you're looking for more inspiration, this is my job. I'm trying to inspire everybody to feel the same way as that if you are having your low down days, etc., which we all experience. And write down in the comments below if you've got some ideas you would like me to talk about in terms of videos. For instance, one is that I'm going to be doing just recently or just now is going to be called permission slips, and this will be just basically discussing the nature and how we can get rid of these fear-based structures in our consciousness, the fear-based ways of thinking that stop us from actually accelerating to a higher state of being and living in the heart. It's about giving us permission slips to break free from this control, free your mind, as it were. So that's other stuff over there that I'll be bringing out. So please, contact, write, share the stuff, put it on your Pinterest, put it on LinkedIn, share on Facebook, get the stuff out over there, and think about your community, join the community and do whatever you can to do and help your ways, okay? And lastly, guys, if you liked the content and you enjoyed the stuff that I've spoken about, please hit the like and subscribe button. And thank you to all my subscribers for out there. I truly appreciate all the support that you give me. And until then, thanks very much for listening, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.